Vishwapad Paramahamsa Vichaya Shvata Satta Shishmachila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishwapad Paramahamsa Vichaya Shvata Satta Shishmachila Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Anantakoti Vaishnavarinda Ki Sri Rupsi Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Singh Jeev Gopalavata Das Raghunath Sari Goswami Prabhu Ki Prem Se Ko Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Ki Sri Radha Krishna Go Gopa Gopavina Mukunda Radha Kundagiri Govardhana Ki Vrindavan Dham Ki Mathura Dham Ki Mayapur Dham Ki Jagannathpuri Dham Ki Tulsi Maharani Bhakti Devi Ki Ganga Yamuna Devi Ki Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Sri Sri Gaunitai Ki Sri Sri Krishna Balaram Ki Sri Sri Radha Shyama Sundar Ki Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Samavita Bhakta-vrinda Ki All glories to the Assembled Devotees, all glories to the Assembled Devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavad-Gita, 18th chapter, text number 74. Sañjaya uvāca ityaham vāsudevasya pārthasya ca mahātmanaḥ saṁvādam imam aśrauṣam adbhutam roma-harṣaṇam Sañjaya ityaham vāsudevasya pārthasya ca mahātmanaḥ saṁvādam imam aśrauṣam adbhutam roma-harṣaṇam. Please chant. Sañjaya vacha. Sañjaya said. Iti. Thus. Aham. I. Vāsudevasya. Of Krishna. Pārthasya. And Arjuna. Cha. Also. Mahā-ātmanaḥ, of the great soul, saṁvādam, discussion, imam, this, aśrauṣam, have heard, adbhutam, wonderful, roma-harṣaṇam, making the hair stand on end. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Sañjaya said, thus have I heard the conversation of two great souls, Krishna and Arjuna. And so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end. Purport. In the beginning of Bhagavad-Gita, Dhritarashtra inquired from his secretary Sañjaya, what happened on the battlefield of Kurukshetra? The entire study was related to the heart of Sañjaya by the grace of his spiritual master, Vyasa. He has explained the theme of the battlefield. The conversation was wonderful because such an important conversation between two great souls had never taken place before and would not take place again. It was wonderful because the Supreme Personality of Godhead was speaking about himself and his energies to the living entity, Arjuna, a great devotee of the Lord. If we follow in the footsteps of Arjuna to understand Krishna, then our life will be happy and successful. Sañjaya realized this, and as he began to understand it, he related the conversation to Dhritarashtra. Now it is concluded that wherever there is Krishna and Arjuna, there is victory. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yenam Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sabadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Saṁvādam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanvidamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dīnabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Sañjaya vāca ityaham vāsudevasya pārthasya cha mahātmanaḥ saṁvādam imam aśrauṣam adbhutam roma-harṣaṇam. Sañjaya said, thus have I heard the conversation of two great souls, Kṛṣṇa and Arjuna. And so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end. So, again we are on the end of the Bhagavad-Gita. So, practically every 2 years. So the Bhagavad-Gita is concluded. And as Sañjaya is saying here, that this saṁvād, this conversation between Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his dear devotee, Arjuna, is very wonderful. So much so that Sañjaya was feeling so much pleasure, and the hairs on his hand, the hairs on his body were standing on end. So that is a symptom of being ecstatic, being very happy. Of course, even sometimes due to some other reason, sometimes it happens that the hair are standing on end. Sometimes even due to fear, sometimes it may happen. So, and the symptoms, when they manifest in the personality of a pure devotee, they are known as ashtasatika bhav, and there are actually 8 in number ecstatic symptoms, transcendental symptoms. Whereas in the material world, if Krishna is not in the center, the symptoms may also sometimes manifest, like the hair standing on end or crying. But these are material symptoms. Also we can see here that, and as Prabhupada is explaining in the purport, that Sañjaya was able to witness this whole exchange between Kṛṣṇa and Arjuna. Although he was not there, he was speaking, he was there with Dhritarashtra in the palace, and Kṛṣṇa and Arjuna were on the battlefield, just before the great battle between the Kauravas and the Pandavas. But by the mercy of his spiritual master Vyasadeva, so it was possible for him to witness and to hear this wonderful saṁvādam conversation. Also from this we can understand that Sañjaya was a great devotee of the Lord. He was a good disciple of Vyasadeva, a fortunate disciple of Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva is very well known. He's an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, an empowered personality to give transcendental knowledge. And everyone who is religious, who is abiding or following the Vedic literatures, is recognizing Vyasadeva as a great personality, a great devotee, a great spiritual master. And therefore, whenever we celebrate the appearance day of the spiritual master, that ceremony is known as Vyasa Puja. Because the spiritual master is a representative of Srila Vyasadeva, who is giving transcendental knowledge by which one can understand one's position as spirit soul, completely apart from the gross and subtle body. One can understand the Supreme Lord and the relationship between the jiva, the living entity, and the Supreme Lord. Srila Vyasadeva, he appeared in this world on Guru Purnima, so which is very much celebrated in Bharatvarsha. All the Vaishnavas, even others who are worshipping the demigods, even those impersonalists who want to merge in the absolute truth, Brahman, they acknowledge Vyasadeva and they observe Guru Purnima as the appearance day of Vyas. So without, and that is actually essential. It is mentioned in the Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that there are 64 limbs of devotional service. And the first one is Gurupad Ashray, taking shelter of the spiritual master. And then by his mercy we can learn about devotional service. We can serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We can advance in spiritual life. So much so that we can have darshan, we can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead before one's eyes or in one's heart. Of course, that is not so easily achieved. One must be very much blessed. One must be very sincere, serious in spiritual life. And one must be very fortunate. And then it is possible to realize Krishna, to see Krishna in one's heart. As Lord Brahma is saying, Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Asadeva Hiriyeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achinta Gunasarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. That the pure devotees, because they have love for Krishna, their eyes are anointed with the salve of love. Therefore Santaiva Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokyanti. In their heart they can see Shyamasundar, the beautiful form of Shyamasundar Krishna, holding the flute, wearing yellow cloth, yellow dhoti chadar, and wearing a peacock feather in his crown or in his turban. So that is actually the goal of life. Sakshat Dharshan, Sakshatkar, Atma Sakshatkar, direct perception of the Supreme Self, the Supreme Soul, the Supreme Lord, and one's own self. So that is only mercy, that is only possible by the mercy of the spiritual master to attain perfection. But of course we have to endeavor. So the mercy will be there. The mercy of the Lord, the mercy of the spiritual master, the mercy of the pure devotee is there for the living entities. But one has to be receptive. One has to have the proper consciousness, the proper mood. As Krishna is saying to Arjuna also, Tadvidi paripatana pariprashnana sevaya. One should approach the spiritual master very humbly. One should offer obeisances. One should be there ready to serve the spiritual master. Do whatever he says. Seva vritti, seva bhav. And then one should inquire about the transcendental subject matter, about Krishna. And then he will give transcendental knowledge in loving reciprocation. So Sañjaya, so he was fortunate that he was able to please his spiritual master. And he was blessed to see the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. And if one is properly situated in devotional service, then these transcendental ecstatic symptoms, they are regularly coming. Like explained here, the hairs standing on end, or sometimes tears are coming from the eyes, sometimes the voice is faltering and one cannot speak properly due to transcendental ecstasy. And the devotee's main concern is that I have to serve Krishna. It's not that he will think, let me get his ecstatic symptoms. Of course it is natural to be happy, because by nature the soul is blissful, Satchidananda Vigraha. And therefore it is natural to want to be happy, to want to be blissful. But the devotee is ready to serve the Lord always, under any circumstances, in happiness or in distress. It doesn't matter to him. He's always ready to serve, he's always serving. And then there's a loving exchange. And then, so the symptoms, if one is pure, then the symptoms are manifest. Standing on end of the hairs, or tears coming from the eyes like torrents of rains. One cannot speak properly. So that is possible for the pure devotees. But even sometimes you can see if one is not pure yet, but if one is engaged in devotional service, then sometimes also one will feel ecstatic. And even sometimes tear will be coming from the eyes. Or the hairs are standing on end. And then, of course, one will be very happy. But even if the symptoms are not there, so the devotee is always trying to serve Krishna. That is his main concern, that I have to serve Krishna. One time in Dwarka, one of Krishna's associates, Daruka, is the chariot driver of Krishna. So, whenever Krishna is going out of Dwarka for some business, to go and kill some demon or go to Hastinapura and so on, then this driver is there, Daruka. So Daruka is, of course, because Krishna is not going every day out. It's not that all the time is there on his chariot going here and there. No, sometimes. And then Daruka is ready. But other times Daruka is still also doing some seva, because it is natural, one doesn't want to be just sitting idle. But a pure devotee wants to serve. So one time he was serving Krishna inside Krishna's palace. And he was having a chamar, this white yak tail, which is usually used in the service of the Lord or the service of the king or of a great personality. So he was serving the Lord, he was fanning. He was so happy, I'm serving the Supreme Lord. Like also we are serving the deities, we are doing artik, then we are very happy. Oh, we are so fortunate we are able to serve Krishna, Radha Shama Sundar or Krishna Balaram Gonitai. And she was so happy that tears were coming from the eyes. And he was feeling so much ecstasy. His body was trembling. But then he was controlling himself and, oh, Krishna, Krishna. That I want to serve. I want to serve. Nice to be ecstatic, but it should not stop my seva. I should continue my seva. So he was trying to control. And he was, by Krishna's mercy, he was able to control. So even, we can see even Prabhupada sometimes, he was chanting Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. And then when a pure devotee is singing the Maha Mantra or Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, then the pure devotee is seeing Krishna. So Prabhupada is chanting Radha Madhava a few times, then suddenly seeing Krishna and then feeling so much ecstasy. So much so it happened that 1 or 2 times he just stopped and tears were coming from the eyes. Sometimes Prabhupada could check and then he continue, but sometimes 1 or 2 times it happened that he was saying, I cannot speak anymore due to ecstatic symptoms. Being able to see the Lord. So Sañjaya was very fortunate, and so he was telling Dhritarashtra everything. So Dhritarashtra, he was blind. He could not see. That is one thing, to be physically not able to see, which was the case with Dhritarashtra. But then there's another blindness. If one is not able to understand the absolute truth, if one is not able to understand that we are spirit soul, that we have a relationship with Krishna, that we should serve Krishna. So Dhritarashtra, he was physically blind, and spiritually speaking also he was blind. Although he had some knowledge, being or having taken birth in a royal family, but at the same time he had also some misconceptions and some material motives, and he could not fully understand Krishna, the Supreme Lord. He could not appreciate then his nephews, the Pandavas, were great devotees of the Lord. But Sañjaya was there, who was also helping Dhritarashtra, serving him. And he knew that he was a good disciple of Vyasadeva. And therefore he was asking him, please, you tell me what is happening. So we can understand from this that Dhritarashtra, he had some knowledge. And he could recognize Vyasadeva as a Mahatma also, as a great soul. But he did not have full faith, or he did not follow the instructions of the great personalities. So he was unfortunate. But still some fortune was there that he was able to hear directly from Sañjaya also what is happening, although they were not on the battlefield. So Prabhupada is explaining that this conversation was wonderful, because we know there are many conversations amongst people, but this conversation was wonderful because it was between two great souls. Prabhupada is explaining the Supreme Soul, Krishna, and his dear devotee, the pure devotee, Arjuna. And so the conversation was not only wonderful, but it was very important. It was giving transcendental knowledge. And it is the purpose of human form of life to inquire about the absolute truth. Athato brahma jigyasa that is mentioned in the Vedic literatures, that now is the time to inquire about the Supreme Lord. When one has a human form of life, we have the ability, we have the opportunity to understand transcendental subject matters. The unlimited jivas, living entities in this material world. But only those in the human form of life, they can properly understand the importance of human form of life. They can hear these Vedic literatures from the great devotees, and they can apply that in their life, and in this way make advancement in spiritual life. The animals, they cannot. Of course, if an animal is there, or anyone is there when a conversation is there between two great souls, or in the assembly of a pure devotee, or even if one pure devotee is there speaking and the audience is listening attentively, we can see sometimes even devotees that are having some program, not only in the temple or outside, and then there are sometimes some animals are there, and they may also then just be there, and maybe they may just listen there for some time, and they may also be benefited. But in order to benefit fully when we are hearing, so we must be attentive. It is explained also in the 10th canto, when Shukadeva Goswami is speaking to Parikshit, that when the transcendental dialogue is there, saṁvādam. Dialogue means at least two are there, of course. One is speaking and one is hearing. And of course then the one who is hearing, he may ask some question, and then the speaker will answer. And there may be many persons who are hearing, and then many will have a question. So, but at least two have to be there. So, Shukadeva is saying to Parikshit that by discussing this transcendental subject matter, the speaker, the one who is inquiring, and those who are simply listening are benefited. And then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in the purport to this verse is explaining that actually the one who is speaking is most benefited. Of course, if a pure devotee is there, then there's no question of getting some benefit, more benefit. Is already pure. But if one is not yet pure, then one will try to make as much advancement as possible, as quickly as possible. So he's mentioning that the one who is speaking is most benefited, because he's so much absorbed while speaking, and because actually then usually Krishna actually is speaking also through the devotee, because there are so many devotees there who may be listening, or maybe those who are just trying to become devotees, or even those who are simply curious, what is this person speaking about? Let me just listen. And then they're listening. And therefore, so the pure devotee, he knows Krishna. And because he knows Krishna, so it is said that he knows everything. But it doesn't mean that he knows all the details of whoever is sitting here or in the assemblies, whatever somebody is thinking, he cannot understand. But he understands Krishna. Krishna is in his heart, because he has love for Krishna. And then there's an exchange with Krishna. So when he's speaking, So then he's praying to Krishna also, please, you please guide me in speaking the right words. You please help me, you're in my heart, and please you guide me. And so Krishna, he knows everyone's heart, because he's in everyone's heart. And then he knows also the thoughts of the devotees. Krishna knows everything. And Krishna is unlimited. And because Krishna is in everyone's heart, then, and if somebody has something in his mind, or if Krishna wants to bless different devotees, while Krishna Katha is going on, then he will give the words on the tongue of the speaker, so that different individuals may be benefited. Somebody may have a question in his mind, and then the speaker, being inspired by Krishna, sometimes he will directly also, while the conversation, while the dialogue, while the katha is going on, he will answer. Being inspired by Krishna, then the pure devotee can properly benefit all those who are there. As explained, even if an animal is there, he will be benefited, because it is transcendental sound vibration. And then even for the animal it will be agyata sukriti, unknown pious activity. He doesn't know really what's going on, but he's just there, so he's benefited. And so the speaker, he's getting the mercy from Krishna while speaking, and he's feeling transcendental pleasure. Transcendental emotions are there as he's speaking about different subject matters, or if he's speaking about, of course here, if he's speaking about Krishna and Braj and the wonderful pastimes, then the devotee can relish while speaking. Of course, sometimes then if he's speaking about the feelings of separation from the gopis and Mother Yashoda, then you will also feel feelings of separation. And here, of course, it was very intense situation between the Kauravas and the Pandavas. And so Sañjaya, he was there, and he was able to see, and he was able to speak to Dhritarashtra. But because Krishna is in the center, Krishna is there, so transcendental pleasure is there. But at the same time, different other emotions are there. So the fight is going to happen. And fighting is not so nice, unless it is in Braj between Krishna and the gopis. Sometimes transcendental fight is there. Krishna is supposed to meet Radharani at night time somewhere. And Radharani and some gopis, they're there waiting for Krishna. And Krishna is going towards the destination, but then some gopis of Chandravali, the friends of Chandravali, they come and take Krishna by the hand. Come, Chandravali wants to see you also. And then Krishna is bound to go there also, because they also have love. Chandravali has also so much love. But Radharani's love is superior, but still, in the pastime there, Krishna is going there and then spending some time there, and then is coming late to see Srimati Radharani, and Radharani becomes angry. So very angry because Krishna was so much late this time, 2 hours late. Not only that, but there's a red mark here on Krishna's cheek. What is this? Because Chandravali had some kind of lipstick, right? And she's kissing, and there's a scene there on the cheek. So Radharani also becoming angry. And Krishna, of course, then is excusing himself. He's saying, sorry, I'm sorry. It just happened. What to do? Please forgive me. And then he has to sometimes bow down his head, the Supreme Lord. So ordinary persons, they cannot not understand. Even ordinary devotees cannot understand. Even Jayadev Goswami, he wrote a beautiful book, Gita Govind. He was a great devotee, but he knew Krishna is the Supreme Lord. And Radharani is the eternal consort of Krishna. So therefore he has a respect also for Radharani. But in the pastime, so there is two kinds of vichar, of thought. One, tattva vichar, the consideration of the absolute truth, is that Krishna is Supreme Lord. And everyone, Ekleshwar Krishna, Arasabhabritya. So Krishna is the only Ishwar, controller Lord, and everyone else is servant. So but then in Lila Vichar and consideration of the pastimes, then Krishna is just a cowboy. As a friend of Sudam, Sridham, he is the son of Maria Yashoda, he is the beloved of Radharani. And there's sometimes so the devotees are in a superior position, and Krishna is just bound by the love of his devotees. And so Jayadev was writing very beautiful exchange between Krishna and Srimati Radharani, the different emotions which are there. And then suddenly he's seeing, and same thing as here, Sañjaya was seeing in meditation. That is also known as samadhi bhasha. So the language of samadhi, samadhi, the intelligence is equiposed, is fixed completely in the absolute truth, absorbed in the absolute truth. That is samadhi, complete absorption. So he was also completely absorbed, and he was writing Gita Govind. Even as we know Prabhupada, he was saying, we hear that again and again, and Prabhupada was saying that Krishna was dictating and I'm writing. So like this he was also writing what he was seeing actually. And then he saw that Krishna is there, and so Radharani was upset with Krishna. And then Krishna had to beg forgiveness, had to do something to break her man, her transcendental anger. And then he saw Radharani is there, and Krishna is begging with folded hands, is there, please forgive me. And you go away, Lampa Debauchi, you go away from here. I don't want to see you anymore. Of course, she always wants to see Krishna, but the emotion was so strong there, because Krishna came only after seeing Chandravali. So she was transcendently angry. But still she wants to be with Krishna, she wants Krishna, and she wants to see Krishna, but still, in loving anger, she's saying, you go away, I don't want to see you. No, please, be kind to me. And then Krishna is putting his feet at the lotus, his head at the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. Smaragala kandanam mama shirasi mandanam dehi padapallavam udaram. So he saw this, but he could not write this. This is not possible. What's happening today? Something is not right here. Krishna putting his head at the feet of Radharani. Okay, anyway, it's noon time, I have to go and take my bath. I go and take my bath and then I'll eat something, maybe then the right consciousness will be there. Something is not right here, he's thinking. He couldn't believe it. And he went to take bath, and then Krishna is taking the form of Jayadev. Krishna is the supreme mystic and he can do anything. He was disguised as Jayadev and is coming there and he's writing these lines, Maragala Kandanam Mama Sharisimandanam Dehi Pada Pallava Mudaram. So that Krishna is putting his head on the feet of Srimati Radharani, becomes an ornament. So Radharani's feet becomes then the ornament on Krishna's head. And then so he finished writing and then he's saying, Padmavati Deviyan, please give me my lunch now. Yeah, sure, she's giving lunch to her husband, she's thinking, but it's actually Krishna. And then Krishna goes, he leaves. Yeah, I'm going to take rest now. And then after a little while, the real Jayadev is coming. Okay, Devi, I'm hungry. What? You're hungry? But you just ate, no? What? I just ate? What are you saying? I was taking bath and then I came here back. What are you saying? I just ate? Yeah, I just fed you, no? No, I didn't feed me. What? And then he's understanding something transcendental must happen here. And then he quickly goes in the room at where he was writing usually, and he looked in the book and he saw what he could not write that was written. And he understood that this Krishna came. And then he told to Padmavati whatever was there, and just, oh, so wonderful. And then both of them were crying. So sometimes, these are the activities of great souls. And so sometimes this transcendental anger, and then, so transcendental, of course, in the transcendental realm, in the spiritual world, that anger is simply augmenting the loving sentiments, the transcendental bliss also of the divine couple. So, but the underlying principle is, of course, the ocean of love. We say the ocean of love. And the ocean, we know, the biggest reservoir of water is an ocean, very, very deep, so much water is there. So the devotee's heart is just like the ocean. They're swimming in the ocean of love. But then these different emotions, other emotions are coming. Transcendental anger or sadness, or some kind of illusion sometimes. So then so sometimes transcendental anger is there. But that is also very wonderful. That loving quarrel which is there, especially between Krishna and the gopis. But here, and then of course all these transcendental emotions are there. Crying, standing on end of the hairs, and even different kind of cryings. Crying in transcendental pleasure, and then crying due to being in a helpless position. And Krishna, please help me, please save me. Or feeling separation from Krishna. Krishna, where are you? I cannot see you. Where are you? Please be present before me. So the highest loving emotions are there in Braj. But even here, Sañjaya, so he was feeling these different transcendental emotions. And here, of course, when the fighting is there, so the emotions which are there, of course, chivalry is there, so wanting to be engaged in a good fight. And so it is definitely also interesting, but at the same time it's a little scary when all the people are there fighting with each other, killing each other. So it's a kind of, even so for the pure devotee, so this experience may be there for the Pandavas, but then fighting for Arjuna against Dronacharya, Bhishmadev, Kripacharya, it was very painful. Although even though the loving sentiments are there for Krishna, but then in performing the duty of fighting, it was very painful. So Krishna, Arjuna's love for Krishna, but then Krishna wants him to fight because it was necessary, fighting against the superiors, which usually we should never do. It is mentioned we should never argue even with the superiors. If the superior is saying something, okay, Krishna does, now you do this. So the disciple cannot say, why I should do this? No, I will not do this. No, the disciple will follow whatever the spiritual master says, lovingly. So, what to speak of Yadana? So no arguing should be there. So in the consciousness, one is always favorable towards the spiritual master, and not thinking him to be an ordinary person, and whatever he's doing is perfect and right. But sometimes even it may be that one will think something, why is he doing like this? My spiritual master, I don't understand. Then he may humbly ask also, my dear Gurudev, why are you doing in this way? I don't understand. But not in a challenging way, but in a humble way. But here, so there's three kinds of offense: mental, vocal and physical. Because the mind in the age of Kali is very flickering and difficult to control. Therefore the mental offense is not counted, because it's difficult to control the mind. But the vocal, if somebody is speaking something not properly, speaking to the spiritual master or saying something bad about somebody else unnecessarily, that is then vocal offense, and that is counted. There will be reaction. But physically, then punching another devotee in the face, so that is not good. But still sometimes it happens. Even in Vrindavan, the most elevated place, sometimes we have seen, we have heard, and that it is happening sometimes. Devotees fighting with each other, even slapping each other. But then here, fighting with the spiritual master. Arjuna had to fight against Bhishmadev, Dronacharya, Kripacharya. And Krishna saying, you have to kill them. Kill the spiritual master, how it is possible? Greatest offense. But because Dronacharya, Kripacharya, they were very, very intelligent and great souls also. Bhishmadev, great souls. Mahajan, great personality, we have to follow in his footsteps, it is mentioned. In regards to his activities which he performed, he was a righteous person and knowledgeable. Just that he was, actually due to circumstances, he was forced to fight with the Kauravas, with Dronacharya, Dhritarashtra's, Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra's son. Because he took a vow that I will stay in Hastinapura till the end of my life and protect the city, the kingdom. Because of that, although there was some quarrel, he had to stay with Duryodhana. And he didn't like it, and he tried to tell Duryodhana, and he was also one of the spiritual masters of Duryodhana. But Duryodhana didn't listen to him. He was a bad disciple, not listening to the Guru. First class disciple is you don't even have to tell him what to do. He knows what to do. First class, you don't have to tell, but very rare. Second class, you tell him and then he will do. Third class, you will tell him and he's not able or he doesn't want to do. Fourth class is going against. Is known as Guru Drohi, Akritagya. He's not grateful, he's ungrateful. He's gotten so much knowledge from the spiritual master, but he's not following. He's even against the spiritual master. Fourth class. So fighting against Bhishmadev, Dronacharya. He didn't want to, but then he was obliged to, because it is a war between the righteous and those who are unrighteous. Although Bhishmadev, Dronacharya, Kripacharya, they were devotees, they were knowledgeable, they were to be respected, but because due to the circumstances, they had to, from one point of view, stay in Duryodhana's camp. Although they were uncomfortable and they didn't want to, but somehow they just had to be there. And therefore, so then he was fighting against them, Arjuna. So very difficult situation for everyone. And then, so how much access you can get in this situation? So sometimes it happens in one's life also. When he's engaged in devotional service, happiness is there, but then some difficulties are there. But then we just have to tolerate, and when the great difficulties are there, then sometimes the transcendental bliss is subdued because of the circumstances. But then, after some time, again everything is normal, and then again we will feel more transcendental pleasure. So his ecstasy, Sañjaya also he was, so some ecstasy was there because it was so wonderful conversation and giving so much knowledge to Arjuna for the benefit actually for the conditioned souls. So Sañjaya was feeling some transcendental happiness there. So much so that the hairs are standing on end. Of course, the happiness was also mixed with different feelings because it was just before the battle. And he knew there was going to be fighting and killing. So therefore his happiness was there to some extent because he was hearing these wonderful instructions, but it was subdued by other feelings also. But still, so much so that the hairs were standing on end, he was feeling pleasure. As explained before, even sometimes in material world, even persons who are not worshipping Krishna, they have these emotions because by nature everyone is Satchidananda Swarup, eternal, full of bliss and knowledge. But if one is not worshipping Krishna, then one is under the modes of material nature, and then the emotions are not pure, they are contaminated, and they cannot reach a high level. But even sometimes there is also in happiness in the material world, people are crying also. After, let's say if somebody's son just got lost or kidnapped or something, but then the son comes back, and then the father and mother, if the son is young, then they will be united again and they will be crying, "Oh my son, you are back." Or when he's kidnapped, then they're crying also, "My son is not here," and crying. And then they meet and again they cry, "Oh, my son is back." So, but if Krishna is not in the center, then it is material. And sometimes there's also cricket match or football match, and one has one's favorite team, India should win the cricket match, but they lose against Pakistan. When they win, they're happy, the tears are coming, we won. But if they lose, they cry, and the tears are coming also sometimes. Or even standing on end of the hairs are there. If one is scoring. So I was playing soccer in my youth. And scoring sometimes, and also the hairs are standing on end. or crying in ecstasy, we won. But if Krishna is not at the center, then it is material emotion, and it is not so great. But if Krishna is at the center, then so much transcendental bliss, and then so many tears may be coming. But then if Krishna is not there, in separation, then also the feelings of separation are there. And the more one has love for Krishna, so then the more the tears will be there. And then if Krishna is not present in the heart, or in the seva, one is not able to serve Krishna, then tears of separation may be there. So much separation, feelings of separation are there. So, but as Prabhupada is writing, at the end, that now it is concluded that wherever there is Kṛṣṇa and Arjuna, there is victory. So we have to see in our life that Krishna is in the center, and that we are amongst the Vaishnavas, and then there will be victory. As Prabhupada is saying, and in the last sloka also of the Bhagavad-Gita, that wherever there is Kṛṣṇa and Arjuna, certainly there will be victory, opulence, and happiness will be there. So we have to try to see that Krishna is in the center of our life, and that we are in the association of Krishna's devotees. Then we will be successful in conquering over the three modes of material nature, ignorance, and then automatically also then there will be transcendental happiness, and then there will be opulence also, and whatever we want, that will be achieved. And so, yes, and so we simply have to, and so, but one important point, of course, most important is to chant the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. But it is very important to hear this transcendental saṁvād, conversations as between Kṛṣṇa and Arjuna, or even in the Śrīmad Bhagavatam between different personalities. Shukadeva and Parikshit, or Maitreya and Vidur and so on, or even Krishna in the 11th canto speaking to Uddhav, or then in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaking to Rupa Goswami at Prayag, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaking to Sanatana Goswami at Varanasi, and Mahaprabhu speaking to Raghunath Das Goswami in Jagannath Puri. So these conversations where Krishna Chaitanya is giving this transcendental knowledge to the respective devotees are very important, are very wonderful, and we should listen, we should read about these. And then the famous Rai Ramananda Saṁvād again, conversation between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy. Very important. So if you hear, if you read this conversation, you will be so much benefited. And there in Rai Ramananda Saṁvād, so although Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Lord and the Adi Guru, but then he is inquiring from Rai Ramananda, what is the goal of life? And tell me something about these transcendental subject matters of spiritual life. What is most important in devotional life? And then he's asking and he's answering, and he's saying, Mahaprabhu is saying that, okay, all right, but please, this is external. He's speaking from Bhagavad-Gita. Whatever you do, you offer to me, whatever you eat, everything you do for me. Okay, that is all right. But say a little more, this is external, say more. speaking about varnashram. Okay, this is okay, but this is external. Say more. Eha bhaya age kaho. And then he's coming to Braj. And then about the different devotees in different relationships. And he's speaking about dasya bhav. Oh, okay, good. But you speak more. And then speaking about the friends of Krishna and the loving exchange with Krishna. Oh, wonderful, good. But you say something more. Then speaking about vatsalya bhav. And Mahaprabhu is more pleased. And then, but you can say something more. Then yes, then he's speaking about the gopis' love. And then Mahaprabhu is fully satisfied. But then still he's answering, asking more. Tell more about the gopis' mood and the love. And then he's speaking about Radharani, and Radharani is glorious. And then Mahaprabhu is overwhelmed also in transcendental love. So that is the leading to the highest goal. Devotional service in Braj Bhav, especially the transcendental loving sentiments of Srimati Radharani. Aradhya Bhagavan Brajeshatani Astadham Vrindavanam Ramya Kachitu Basana Brajavarvarganiya Kalpitaha. Mahaprabhu, that is the opinion also of Mahaprabhu, which Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was writing in his verse. Prabhupada many times he quoted that verse. Aradhya Bhagavan, our worshipable Lord, that is Krishna, the son of Nanda Baba. And as worshipable as Krishna is Vrindavan Dham, Krishna's abode, Tad Dhanam. And then he's explaining that Vrajavarvarganiya Kalpitaha, Upasana. So the Upasana, the worship of the Vrajavadu, the gopis, the damsels of Braj, that is the highest form of worship. And that we cannot even imagine properly. We cannot properly understand. Only if one is transcendently situated, then one can really appreciate and understand the loving exchange between Krishna and the gopis. So he was telling this, and of course Mahaprabhu was so satisfied. So that is the most wonderful, important conversation, samvad, is actually that between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Rai Ramananda. And the interesting thing is that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, but with the love and luster of Srimati Radharani. And Rai Ramananda Roy is Arjuna himself. But of course, Rai Ramananda is a combination of Vishaka Devi and Pandav Arjuna. And actually Arjuna, his original form is there. Of course, he's there in Dwarka also. But the original form of Arjuna is there in Golok. He's there as Arjuna Saka, is a friend of Krishna in Golok. And he has a form as a gopi also. He has two forms in Braj. Arjuna Saka and Arjuna Gopi. And then he's there in Dwarka also. And he's there in Gaur Lila. So, most wonderful. Very inconceivable. So, but by material intelligence we can never understand. And even as a devotee we cannot fully comprehend, but we are just listening, and if we have faith, as mentioned in Bhagavad-Gita, so we have to listen with faith. If we listen with faith, and then if we engage in devotional service, then we can understand everything by the mercy of Krishna and the mercy of the devotee. And then our life will be successful. So, if we discuss about Kṛṣṇa and Arjuna, about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees like Rai Ramananda, Rupa Goswami, they are known as Rupanuga Vaishnavas, followers of Rupa Goswami. So, very important instructions to Rupa Goswami. And then, so he understood Mahaprabhu, the mood of Mahaprabhu, and he gave that in his books like Upadeshamrita, Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu, and so on, Ujjwal Nilamani, for our benefit. Okay, it's 6:30, we should stop here. Hare Krishna.